everybody, this is Perch. I'm always interested in hearing about new business models, ideas people have for how to get comics sold, get them into different markets. I truly believe that the solution to the current kind of place that comics finds itself in, whether you're thinking about it from a financial perspective or from a cultural perspective, quality perspective, whatever it happens to be, the one antidote I think that we're looking at is that we have to experiment with different methods, different ways to get comics into the hands of consumers, different pricing, different all this stuff. We have to play with some other options. I think that is the only way that we're going to be able to unlock, better value, different value. If we don't do that, then I think we're stuck. We're going to keep trying the same things over and over again and keep coming up with justification for how it can be right, even when it's clear it's not. That's that's where we are with comics. So we've got this mail. It says the DVD model for comics. Okay, it says, "Hey Perch, a comparison I often make on comics is old DVDs. I'm not sure that if this was true in the U.S. I'm assuming so, but over here, and I'm not sure where over here is, we could buy older movies on DVD in the early days of DVD for very, very cheap. I remember seeing copies of such classic hits as Short Circuit, Under Siege 2, RoboCop 3, all the best, and Flight of the Navigator for a pound. So I guess I'm figuring out where this person is coming from. Anyway, the goal was pretty obvious. It wasn't just to sell these gems, I think you're being generous with that word, but to transition lower income people away from VHS to DVDs. In my family's incredible foresight, and definitely not for income reasons, we saw past the grift and kept VHS until 2010. That's ballsy. But credit where it's due, it absolutely made DVD players a worthwhile investment for lower income people. So what this person was describing did happen in the U.S., and it was a good business model strategy, and it worked. And basically the idea was, and it actually it created a second life, second income stream that I suspect actually helped people like Blockbuster stay in business a good year after they, in theory, should have died. But basically, it sold used DVDs and or DVDs that were mass produced with the thought they'd go into rental, but they weren't picked up. And so they then got recycled or repurposed as the kind of $1, the quarter bit, if you will, of DVDs. And it was there was a lot of arguments at the time. There's articles written about this entire thing and why it was a problem and everything else. But the logic was pretty straightforward. It was get these DVDs as a loss leader into the hands of people. And it really wasn't a loss leader because DVDs, were like a quarter to produce. I mean, cheap as hell. The more expensive part was the packaging. But get these into the hands of people. People will buy the DVD player. Once they've adopted the DVD player, we'll move the market from VHS to DVD. We'll stop producing as much VHS. They cost a lot more to make. They're harder to distribute. And we'll basically push this model along, and then we'll move things up. There's this brief period, by the way, where DVDs got cheaper. And it was this weird moment where they first came out. I think DVDs were like $20. And then DVDs for a while, a lot of them fell to 10. And then they hiked back up to 15. And you may not remember that, but it's absolutely true. There was a moment where the price dropped significantly, somewhat across the board. And then we got the result, that we have now. But it was an interesting moment in time, and it shows you how you can move a market. So now the mail continues. It says, what is a comics equivalent? Or what could it be? If it were up to me, not to be an armchair businessman, I would take a series like Legends of the Dark Knight and reprint every multi-issue arc into its own book. Uniform trade dress, $9.99 price tag, sell it everywhere manga is sold, which means you should probably copy the manga format and size. Print a couple of months, use self-contained miniseries and arcs. 80 years of comics to keep this going. I don't get why this isn't being done. The goal shouldn't be just to sell comics, but to grow your reach. Also, show your kids Scooby-Doo, Zombie Island, give it a shot. It's a staple of good gift entertainment. Yeah, my kids never really loved Scooby-Doo. I mean, even I've tried with a couple of, but they never went for it. It breaks my heart a little bit because, the worst one is I tried to show my kids Transformers, the movie, the one where Optimus dies and Rodimus Prime comes and everything else. And my kid's like, I don't know. Like, why is a kid getting in a car that turns into a robot? My kids also could never fathom, like, this is kid logic here. It was, if the kid's riding around an Optimus Prime, I mean, there's a seat there. It's a huge cab, like, easily do it. Why is it that when Optimus Prime transforms, the kid has to jump out of Optimus? Like, why can't the kid like be inside of Optimus like it's some kind of Voltron type thing? I mean, well, that's not a great example, but the kid could just be in there, and that would be better protected because invariably in a lot of these cartoons, the kid comes rolling in the jet or sports car, Bumblebee or whatever it happens to be, and then gets ejected when the Autobot transforms, and then proceeds to immediately get into danger. The Soundwave, it starts ejecting those cassette tapes, and Ravage comes up, and immediately the kid's all fucked. And it's like, why didn't you just stay in the cab, you dumbass? Why didn't you just stay in there? Anyway, Transformers logic. What can I say? I think your idea is good. I think I'd go further. I wouldn't charge $9.99. I'd charge floppy prices. I'd go like $3.99 for that thing. And if that means you're printing on like the kind of print that manga's printing on, smaller format, everything else, go for it. But like you said, it's a loss leader at this point. You're not hurting your market. I mean, just fuck it. Just like why? There's no reason not to do this. It's free money, completely free money. And I think it's, more than anything, it's just madness that you're not taking this step, because you're not gonna interfere with the collectors. Like there's no harm in doing this. There's absolutely no rational idea why you wouldn't start take this approach. And the marketing opportunities, you get people hooked on some of these characters. You get a reasonably good editor or somebody who's curating this stuff. You could tie it in, like get some stuff reprinted before you launch into a big arc in the floppies. Make sure you put ads in the back of the book that promote where comic shops are, or how to get a subscription, or DC Unlimited, or whatever it happens to be. Like it's so obvious what you're doing, but again, people they don't do it. It's baffling. I don't know why the publishers don't mind the back catalog. I know one of the reasons I've been told is that if they do too much with the back catalog, the collectors will be upset. That's what I've heard. But this is dumb. It's always been dumb. You put it this way. I'll give you the most hardened answer. Collectors are going to want first printings of things. If you're taking old comics and you're reprinting them, and you're bundling together in some kind of cheaper trade, like no collector's gonna be like, fuck, you ruined my investment. Nobody's gonna be that way. You have the original. In fact, if anything, it's a higher likelihood that you're going to increase the value of the originals. So if that's the audience you're worried about pissing off, to the contrary, if something gets really popular via one of these kind of manga style trades, the original issue price is going to increase, not decrease. The demand will go up. People are like, holy shit, this storyline was great. I've got to own the originals. That's what people will think. So just go for that. Like it's right. I mean, literally right there in front of you. Just do that. But that's for whatever reason. That's the people just refuse. I don't get it. I honestly don't get that part. So it's a good idea, and I think it's the object here is to get more hands into get more comics into the hands of consumers, get more visibility, get stuff out there. Do it for dirt cheap pricing. You've already got these things done. Now the other thing, when I've brought up this idea before, the other excuse I get, and this is going to piss off a couple of people, but the other excuse I get is, well, but then we'd have to pay royalties for some of this stuff. And I'm like, well, yeah, but you're not going to pay more royalties than you make. It's still free money. It's still, not free, but really close to free. You're still going to increase your market share, increase the marketing of your book, make a profit. I mean, Still seems like a good idea, but it's just it's oil and water. I don't know. Um, I, People have been hard against this concept, and I've never had a good answer why. It just they're against it. So anyway, thank you very much for mail. Thank you very much for thinking of what's going on. Would you buy this? Would you be into it? How would you feel? I mean, Christ, I look at my daughter's shelf and she's got like volume after volume after volume of One Piece and Demon Slayer and all these books there. Cells of Work. She's got those. And there's no reason why there couldn't be a ton of Tankobon style manga, not manga, but Western comics. There's no reason. Easiest thing in the world. Not a problem at all. Barely an inconvenience, as they say. Anyway, thank you very much for the mail, and thanks for listening.